Good afternoon. Welcome to another Life is People with my friend Ryan. How you doing, Ryan?
It's morning over here in Ohio. I'm tired, but I'm here.
Got the early morning times, eh?
Yep.
And we really are spanning the world tonight because we've got me in the afternoon, Ryan in the morning, and my dear friend George from AKA Beat Demon, AKA Jess. How are we doing, George?
Top notch, mate. Cheers. Yeah, 10 out of 10. Can't complain.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So I thought tonight we'd so I thought this morning we would talk about. I really want to talk about the dark thoughts. Um, as you know, I've been really impressed with the album. So I thought I'd really ask you, George, first of all, where did this all spawn from?
The EP or the album or
Well,
which?
just generally, really. I mean, just tell me, where did the whole story of you come from generally? With joining the Demons. I mean, where did it all start? Did it start as a young lad, or?
Well, in terms of making music, been making music, since I was probably about 13, 14, something like that. And sort of went the classic student way of doing things. Started off playing like rock and indie and metal and all that, bit of reggae and stuff. And then sort of around like 17, I started making hip hop, and sort of spent sort of 3 years at university trying to like work out what sort of style I wanted to do, and find my own kind of way, my sort of idea of what I thought I could make. And then I think around second year, I made a tune with Cy and Dan, 21st Birthday Blessings, and that was when it first sort of got something that I thought, yeah, we could put this out, do you know what I mean, and see what people think about it. So we put that out, and then sort of about a year later, we put the EP out, and then over the course of about 3 months, we made the album in 2012. And then second year, I made a tune. After that, I decided, do you know what, like, I've got some of my own ideas. I'd like to do something a little bit different and a little bit more kind of, just for me to just put my own sort of spin on things just by myself. I mean, I've got my mate Ewan helping me out with drums and stuff, but just to put my own ideas out about what I thought we could do lyrically. So aside from just having the Ceiling Demons stuff where I mainly just make the music, I could just do a little EP putting out, some of my ideas about lyricism and things like that. And then also the music that I've been making recently, trying to take it a little bit different, not just sampling like strings, the sort of stuff that I sampled with Ceiling Demons, which is kind of a bit more classical based. I thought I'd take it a bit more kind of post-rock. So I've been sampling like some bands like Silver Mount Zion and Godspeed You, Black Emperor and stuff like that, because I thought, let's try and make something that's just fresh. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's like something that I can't even imagine what it sounds like. Do you know what I mean? So started taking a more minimalist approach, just taking like 4 bars of music, looping it, and then just adding all the amount of stuff that I can think of, like putting guitars on there, which I didn't really do with Ceiling Demons before, and putting like, strings and piano and all different sorts of things and synths, just trying to build it up into this kind of crescendoing kind of idea. So I've not really got any choruses going on or anything like that. Most of the songs are just one, this sort of just builds up, start off slow. So that's been my sort of progression. So now I'm trying to just finish that off, and that's where I'm at the moment. So I don't really know where to go after that, but that's where I am right now. If that makes any sense.
When you started like producing and all that, what was some of the first music that you heard that really made you wanna, made you think that you wanted to play music or even play hip hop? Like, who were some of your first influences?
Well, I guess in terms of just music in general, like making music, I think just growing up listening to my dad's music, like, all the classics like Beatles, Clash, Dylan, all the big ones, Smiths. Growing up around that, after a while, when I got to about 12 years old, I was like, I could own a guitar as well, and I could probably play some tunes like. So got a guitar and started making like just rock music and that for about 5 or 6 years. And hip hop, I mean, I'm not too sure really. I mean, I think the first hip hop artist I was really into was probably Tupac. I was about 13, 14, and then something to do with the passionate side of like that kind of hip hop, like Tupac and those guys, like the real sort of kind of like heroic kind of fight the sort of oppression of everyday life sort of guys. I kind of related to that a bit, so that kind of got me into it from a kind of lyrically thematic point. And then in terms of actually making the music, a lot of my inspiration comes from a guy I lived with in second year and third year of university called Josh Knappin, or Swift 89 as he's known in the music world, who made lots of just luscious hip hop, really nice strings, and he had a really interesting way of cutting up samples in that he wouldn't just take a 4-bar loop and just loop it, put drums under it, and then call it a hip hop song. He'd like take it, chop it up, rearrange it, and make a whole new melody out of a piece of music. So that's kind of where I got my kind of style, my sort of initial style of making tunes from. Say like Mendacity off Dual Sides. That's kind of the best example of that, because it's taken this melody and I've just chopped it up, rearranged it, and made it into a new tune, which I always found interesting about making hip hop like that, because you're kind of taking about 4 or 6 seconds of music. It happens so quickly, you can just listen to it, as it is. But you're taking that 4 or 5 seconds and just like expanding it to 4 minutes, you know what I mean? But in different ways. Like I think another song on Dual Sides, Amputated Spirit, that was the first hip hop song I made that I was happy with, I think, in second year. So it took a few years for it to get out, like on the record and stuff. But I was most proud of that because it's just six chords, about like 4 or 5 seconds of music at most, and just managed to make 3 different sections out of that all sound completely different, and kind of that whole notion of taking just a short piece of time and expanding it and really looking into what is possible or what could coexist in that 4 or 5 seconds is kind of, I found quite a driving inspiration in making hip hop especially. And also I think I just find a rhythm to hip hop that I can just vibe to, if that doesn't sound too simple. Something that kind of it's something to do with the BPM of having something between like 80 to 100 BPM. It's kind of like, I don't know, I just kind of ride to it, do you know what I mean? And like, so, like, that is kind of why I've been making it for the past 3 or 4 years, I guess, because that's sort of where I've been at in terms of how I feel personally, I guess. Sounds a bit pretentious, but that's the only sort of way I can think of expressing it.
No, that's not pretentious. Yeah, it's not pretentious at all, don't think that.
I got a bit of a lag. It's be 2 secs.
Alright, no worries.
Google Plus.
No.
I've got about 6 voices to go through my head at the moment. So George, I know that kind of just from sort of like the time I spent with you, like knowing you stuff, and I mean, you were just saying then about when you talk about what your sort of prehistory to the sort of band. You were in a metal band at one time, weren't you?
Yeah, I was. Yeah, it was. During sixth form. It's quite funny. There's actually quite a lot of similarities between the metal that I make and used to make, and the hip hop that I make now. In a way, a lot of the chord progressions and the harmony is very often influenced from the sort of music I used to make in the metal band, which is why I think a lot of it kind of sounds a bit over the top, I guess, because I think there's a kind of a similarity between the metal and the hip hop that I make in the kind of like it's quite emotionally self-evident sort of what I'm trying to say, really. So like, I think I found certain elements of metal music that really spoke to me with the same elements from hip hop, which sounds strange, we're saying it, but like something there about like the kind of passion that you can hear in the music in good metal anyway. I try to sort of emulate in the hip hop that I make, I guess, because I think my music has always kind of been emotional music and quite expressive music. So I guess there are two genres that can both accommodate that. So yeah, just don't listen to metal so much actually. So probably get back into it. Maybe check out Slipknot's new stuff or something. I don't know. But yeah, metal and hip hop, strange combination.
Would you ever do like a metal demons type song of any sort?
Well, it's funny you should say that actually, because I think, I mean, usually if you ask me would I ever do it if I hadn't done it before, I'd say definitely not. Like I don't like particularly warm to the notion of crossing metal and hip hop in ways that it's done before, because it just kind of, in my opinion, often sounds just quite outdated and kind of.
No, well, no, you don't want the. I know what you're saying. You don't want like that rap rock type
No, I
thing
don't.
going
Yeah,
on.
yeah. But,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
there's a song. Yeah, there's another song on Jules' side called Dark Wood, which is very metal kind of based. I think if you took away the vocals from it and sort of this, if you played the sample on guitar, I mean, it's a metal track. The drums are quite big, and they're like real drum sounds. They're not like electronic sounds, and there's distorted guitar in there as well. It's kind of hidden beneath the bass, but there's some. It's there, like so. And then when Psy drops his last verse and it goes into the heavy bit at the end, I think it's very much a metal song, really, in a kind of a way. Yeah. We still here?
Yeah, hey,
Cool.
we've got some issues with lag, but how you doing, Ewan?
I'm alright, guys. How's it going?
Kenny!
No, George, how you doing, pal?
Oh, mate, I'm good. How are you?
I'm alright, mate. I'm alright.
Sweet.
Just chilling, man. I just got a notification saying this was going on, so I've been trying to get in for the last 5 minutes. I'm still coming to grasp with Google Plus. Not sure what the crack is here. How are you even on this? I thought you'd be sending letters, you, George.
Just about 15 minutes, mate.
Oh, decent. How are you doing, pal?
Yeah, not so bad. We're just chatting about Dark Wood and the notion of hip hop metal crossover.
I think Corn already done that.
Yeah.
We were just saying how we were trying to stay away from that rap rock.
Yeah, it's probably the best thing. I think Fred Durst left his mark on that a long time ago.
Isn't it?
Put your red cap on, George.
Hey, but one of the great crossovers was Anthrax, obviously, when they did bring that.
Yeah.
Well, Chuck D didn't even have to. I don't even think he had to change his voice for that one. He was already. His voice was so booming and powerful already that when Anthrax just started playing, he was already. I think they just added to it. He was already on top of that stuff.
Is that the tune on Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the one. Soundtrack. Soundtrack to my.
I must admit, as someone who makes music, probably one of the biggest influences on my music in general must be then Tony Hawk's games. Just the tunes they used to put on there were unbelievable. I genuinely think that's the last influence music that we've made. Shout out to Tony Hawk, Bucky Lassie.
Shout out to Tony.
Well, we used to play the game so damn long. You heard all those songs over and over and over, and then you crashed and lost your point scale, and yeah. I remember playing all that and hearing all those songs many a times.
Yeah. They did have some great hip hop on there, actually. To be fair, I think that was kind of around the time I started getting into hip hop as well. Was probably about circa Tony Hawk's 4, so kind of maybe there is something in that actually. Yeah.
I mean, they had like they had the NWA, didn't they? They had all sorts. It was a proper diverse like collection. It was really like it was really eclectic, wasn't it? I mean, it sounds so sad because in the video game that came out like when I was like 13, 14, but they did have a proper like widespread like collection of music, not like FIFA. You got Reverend and the Makers and the Kaiser Chiefs. You got a bit of variety, which is always nice. And I think it probably did open quite a lot of people up to kind of music that they wouldn't have heard before. I mean, for us living in out in the Dales, we would never have heard hip hop before probably at that time.
Yeah.
So for us, massive like a switch on for us guys.
I never thought when we'd be doing this that we'd end up talking about the cultural significance of Tony Hawk's soundtrack. I can't lie.
Well, I was even gonna bring up Grand Theft Auto, like just the crazy amount of songs that game used to have, and then you'd have the hip hop station. Next thing you know, it's 2008 or 2006, whenever the game came out, and you got Cool G Rap coming from a video game, and you got NWA coming and Rob Bass and DJ Easy Rock coming from a video game, like crazy. And to see the
was it Radio Los Santos? You had Soundgarden and like Barracuda and shit. I was riding dirt bikes, little hillbilly level on that. I'm sorry guys. I've joined 10 minutes later. I've massively lowered the tone of the conversation. So Tim, steer us back on track there, mate.
Tim's on a massive lag.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, Tim's still laughing about Tony Hawk, isn't he?
So, any other questions?
I think we should just wait for Tim to catch up.
Alright.
Just give me 10 seconds to lag up, man. I've got about 5 voices through my head at the moment. Right.
Cool.
Jesus, Tim.
Right, I can hear you now. Bloody Google, this Google Plus, man, it's unbelievable, isn't it? So George, I mean, what's your thoughts with the Dark Thoughts? I mean, what are your plans with it? I mean, where are you standing right now? Whereabouts in the process are you?
Right now, it's taken way too long, but right now, just finishing off getting all the projects ready to send to the guy I mentioned earlier, Josh Knappen, to get it mixed. So get it mixed. Hopefully that won't take too long. We'll all have to get the artwork sorted out and that finalised, and then get on the promo. I mean, I need to start filming some videos. I've been putting some feelers out to try and meet some people that can do some like video filming.
Yeah.
Because the amount of like incredible stuff I've seen like out in Beijing that you could just film a video at, like you could make some incredible stuff. Like near the art district in Beijing, there's all these just like properly old, dilapidated factories and like just mental architecture, proper like old school cement and like crazy stuff going on. So we're gonna try and get some sorted out, and then me and Kearney Ewan are sort of floating the idea of like dropping one track at a time video instead of one. The amount of like dropping one track, release another, and then just keep on building up the hype and that, and see how that goes. So at the moment, getting there. It's just a matter of getting everything sorted out. I mean, it's kind of difficult getting an EP from one place to another when you're not even in the same continent. Do you know what I mean? So got to try and get the EP sent back to London to get it mixed, and then get it sounding loud, get it bumping, and your last minute changes, and then hopefully we'll have it out soon. So yeah, see what happens.
Back to the shout about videos. I mean, obviously it'd be good to find some creative people out there, mate. But if it comes to it, get your hands on a cheap £100 camera. Go out with Jack and just film whatever you can, mate. And then if you send those files back to the UK, I've got people in Newcastle who helps out with the editing. I mean, all you need is a camera and someone that can point it for you, really. And then we can. You've seen what we can do to edit it, mate. Look at the way those tunes came in and what we did in kind of the post-production editing phase. Completely changed it, mate. So I think getting the footage is one thing. We can worry about the editing later because you can do a lot from the UK, to be honest, mate.
Yeah, I'll help edit if you need it. You know, I'll do whatever. I'm always down to help.
Awesome, mate. Cheers, mate. Nice. Sound.
I mean, what song are you particularly thinking of putting out as your first tune?
That's a difficult one, because you don't really. I'm not sure how to. I mean, yeah, it's a tough one to think about. Really, making your first impression. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it's been literally the first impression anyone gets of like my music. In terms of this whole EP alter ego sort of thing, so it's a difficult one. I mean, I think Dark Thoughts, the actual track, is the most kind of accessible one, as it were. But then I don't know, maybe I want to go drop something that's just like, what is this? So maybe something like God One or like Lost Causes or something like that. So I don't know. It's a tough one to decide which first little taste you want to give. Do you know what I mean? What are your thoughts, Ewan?
I don't know. It's always difficult for me because I mean, you know, I'm like George. I put you in my top 5 favorite producers. Man. I don't know because we're pals, and I got to give you props. But I don't know. You're always biased. You always gravitate more towards kind of the positives when you've worked on it yourself. So sometimes I worry that clouds my vision. But at the same time, you got to think, how are other people gonna kind of get a tweak to this? Cause I mean, obviously I've been there since the beginning, so I've heard the journey of what it's come from to what it now sounds like now. So just thinking what people are gonna like, and it's always a hard one because when you look at what's on the radio, people like shite. So it's just like you can make the most amazing piece of music, and you can put it out there, and people they just won't feel it because I don't know, maybe because it doesn't mention dancing or something like all the other generic stuff that's out there. So it's always hard to gauge how people are gonna what the perception is gonna be. So if it was my EP, I'd probably say you're gonna want to come up with something really hard hitting, something quite I think you said accessible, but something that's not too different. You know what I mean? And if I was thinking of your EP, it would probably be God One, or I mean my favorite track on the EP is probably Lost Causes, just because it's so hard hitting and it's quite regimented and it's quite it's not too far removed from like hip hop music, if you like. Probably chatting rubbish here, but I think it's probably the least risky one. It's the most conformative to kind of the genre of hip hop, if you like. It's quite short as well. I think I'm still keen for the idea of, rather than saying, here's 5 or 6 songs, we're going to drop this as an EP on Bandcamp. I think we've seen before that Bandcamp is, people aren't really familiar with the format. And I think when you really get down to it and consider that kind of such a large percentage of these people are going to be on their phones when they find it. So it's just like, are they really going to be redirected to another website to listen to an EP, or are they going to kind of give it a couple seconds and see? Which is why I think the best thing to do with this is to try just dropping them 1 week at a time. So put out your first tune on SoundCloud, and it's kind of like if you're bumping that song, a new song every week, it kind of it just widens the span, if you like, of kind of when people are going to pay attention. I think it's far more engaging than saying, here's the EP, posted it regularly, whereas you'd say, here's one song, here's a new song, here's another song. People can't really escape it. It kind of just quadruples their chances of actually like listening to it, given at the time.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean, Paul. Definitely, and it's just not that. I mean, it's not like some kind of like revolutionary idea. Do you know what I mean? But it is a bit different, kind of just dropping one at a time, just being like, listen to this tune, and then moving on with it, kind of, and building it up as well. So instead of just dropping music all at the same time, and like, or maybe like one or two tracks first, and people are going to listen to, and then dropping like an album or an EP, they might listen to the first song. They might listen to the first half of it, or they might even listen to the first 3 tracks, but they're not making it the whole way through because attention spans are pretty short. But like dropping just one song at a time, it's a bit different and kind of, I think it'll probably raise interest.
Be easier to digest as well, and I guess at the end of the day, it requires less time from the kind of the person listening to it. 'Cause, I mean, to listen to a full album, like, you're expecting quite a lot. I mean, you assume that person is doing nothing, and they've got kind of the time to spare. So I think in my eyes, the kind of the best way to approach this, I would opt for the staggered approach. And I'd also say, rather than dropping a song first, drop a visual at least at the same time, if not before. I guess it's all dependent on timelines and when we want to push stuff out, really.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
I mean, I think that I agree with both. I think Lost Cause is a really strong song. In fact, me and Ryan were talking before we went live about what film is the intro taken from? The actual speech about Lost Causes.
It is from oh shit, this is gonna be embarrassing.
Just picture because it sounds cool, isn't it?
You like the beat, innit? Bugger, I can't remember. That's quite embarrassing. Any other sample I'd be able to tell you, but that one, it's from a 1940s film, a courtroom drama. I can't remember the name of. With what's the name of the guy from Rear Window? Cary Grant? No, I can't remember. Sorry, I've forgotten. I'm gonna have to concede that one. I can't remember who it is. That's incredibly embarrassing as a producer.
Oh, mate, you just seen that quote on Tumblr, didn't you? You saw on some Tumblr page and thought, right, I'll have that. That sounds trendy.
Come on, Ryan. You're the man to know this stuff. You're the film expert.
Oh man, I'm the best and the worst at it. It's names and movies, and oh my god, after a while they all just blend together, and I can't even think about them anymore.
It's like you.
If it's a courtroom drama, I'm thinking maybe 12 Angry Men, but
Got 12 Angry Men. Although I have sampled that actually in a tune, a Ceiling Demons tune that's not out yet, called Illustrations.
nice.
The bit at the end where the bigot sort of breaks down and kind of realizes that he's lost it. I sampled that. That should be, well, hopefully that'll be coming out soon-ish, because I love that tune actually, Illustration. So keep your ears out for that one. 12 Angry Men. My favourite films actually.
Because you use quite a lot of samples and film samples on especially the Demons, haven't you? I mean, it's
yeah.
What particularly enthralls you about sound clips and putting it together with music, because it's something when done wrongly or badly can be really cheesy. So what do you pick films specifically, or just films you really like and then you hear a lyric and that sticks with you, or a line that sticks with you? What's your sort of process?
I mean, it started off just picking stuff out of my favourite films that conveyed the message that I wanted to put across in the tune. So, say like Mendacity, the sample into that. I actually put that on before the twins put the vocals on it, so it's kind of fortunate that they were writing about alcoholism and all that, because it's taken from Cat on a Hot Tin Roof. It's Paul Newman talking about, you know, being an alcoholic and just how, you know, drinking a bit too much helps you step away from like the brutality of reality. So that was kind of, that's my favourite vocal sample I've used, and it's one of my favourite films as well. But nowadays I'm just got my ears open for just anything, you know, anything in any film that can that I think, yeah, that sounds, because there's something about a kind of little monologue, even if it's just a couple of sentences of, you know, someone usually at the kind of climax of a film where they're really sort of expressing some kind of deep anguish, that I think just goes so well with music. Well, hip hop as well. I mean, it's been done since, you know, day one, but I've not been doing it so much recently, because you hear it, like I said, you hear it in all hip hop. So on the EP, The Dark Thoughts, I think that Lost Causes one is the only one actually. So I've kind of been shying away from it a little bit. I didn't want to give too much emphasis, because I think the more you do it, the less effective it is. It's better when you don't really see it coming, I think. And then, it's not just films as well. I mean, I've sampled Richard Burton just talking a couple of times now on like Dark Woods and a new song, a demon song called The Sinews. Just him talking, like interviews talking about his life and stuff, because you can just find so much interesting stuff anywhere. So just kind of, whenever I just watching something, you know, whether it be like a film or TV or, you know, interviews, whatever, just finding something that just clicks and you think, oh, that's something that I can relate to, that I think would go well in music, because sometimes putting it into lyrics and stuff can obviously be very powerful, but sometimes there's just something very kind of, I don't like the word nostalgic, but kind of powerful in listening to audio recordings that have been taken and put into music that just seems to work. So I've always been interested in kind of digging for those like great vocal samples that you can just whap in, really bring out the kind of emotional pain in the music, I guess.
I think it works. It works twofold as well, pal. I think one in the sense that it one thing thinking of these things and saying them yourself. I mean, if you record it on kind of one of your mics, just you talking, it's got no kind of texture to it. It doesn't sound authentic. Whereas if you pull it from a film or from an interview, that person's voice, like the character in that person's voice, kind of it just gives it like I don't know. I can't explain. It's like a certain like it just adds to it a little bit more. And one of the things I found is one of my demos that I'm sure you'll have heard before, George, is when I've got Springsteen talking at the beginning of it. And one of the things that, so I mean, you know me, like Springsteen is my absolute idol. Like I think the man's incredible. And there's this line that he says. He goes, it's a massive kind of 2-minute speech, and he says that it's not how you what is it? It's not how you put the pieces together. He said it's doing it that matters, and it's basically talking about how like being a musician is not confined to playing an instrument, and it's not confined to like program on a computer. It just says it doesn't matter how you do it. It just matters that you do it. And just like when I heard him say that, it was like shit. And I think it's when the second thing, when you hear someone that you really respect saying it just clicks. And I think you hope that kind of like the feeling that you get from seeing one of your kind of idols kind of put across the point that you want to put across. You hope that the audience that listen to it will get the same kind of reaction. But I think it's when you hear someone that you really respect kind of putting out a message that you kind of really agree with and you're really kind of bound to, I think it makes it all the more special, because it would just sound shit if it was just you saying it. Because what would it mean if you said it, right? If I said to you, I don't know, some big cringy message, whereas if Springsteen said it, it's got a bit more credibility. I think it means a little bit more coming from someone. I guess Richard Burton as well. I think it just means a little bit more credible.
I mean,
Yeah,
George,
I think
I was going to say, when you do your tunes, George, when you're writing stuff, what will come first? Will it be the tune, the beat, or will you write a lyric first and then build a tune around the lyric?
Usually it would be the music first. I can't really think of many tunes where it's been the lyrics first. It has happened before, but usually the music, because I think I naturally gravitate towards making the actual music first to find it a much less stressful experience. So usually what I do is I make the tune after however long it takes, and then blast it out, and then start like thinking up some flows that I can use, a couple of rhythms and stuff, and then go away and leave the music and just sit down with a notepad and a pen, and actually most of the EP it was actually written in Wetherspoons, Richmond, which I found quite funny. Because it doesn't sound massively creative, and it doesn't sound great just sitting in this massive corporative hellhole drinking £1.29 coffee refills. But something about just being completely removed from the music and only really having like the BPM of it and like the beat and the kind of a bit of the music hanging in the back of your head. You can just sort of zone in and sort of really focus on where you want to go, but it's always the music first with me, but I don't kind of put them together. Like, I keep them quite separate, I think, because when I write lyrics, when I'm sitting there, write a line, listen to it, see if it fits, check that like the rhythm's all good, it tends to be a lot more straight and not so rhythmically kind of interesting. So I think it's better to sort of step away from it a little bit and just have the rhythm in the back of your head and just work out where you can go with it. So that's the sort of the method that I went about it with the Dark Thoughts, and which is why I kind of found that it kind of worked a bit, I think anyway, because there's a bit more interesting stuff going on there, and going from like straight stuff to having a bit of triplets and then a bit of kind of slurring and stuff. So that approach for me so far has done it quite well. My only problem is that I hate writing lyrics. Like, I hate it. Like, I love recording them and that, because you've got the lyrics there and you can just blast them out and like really have fun with it, wrapping your mouth around the words and stuff. But I hate writing lyrics because it's just pain. Like, it's long and it's so hard. Just really kind of, you know, sitting down with your notepad and your book and just being like, right, let's go into some of the more dark places in my mind and work out what kind of horrible stuff we can say. Really taxing. So I've not written so much recently. I've just been trying to get back into making tunes at the moment. But yeah, to answer your question, music first, lyrics later. So
when you're writing lyrics, will they be just, you'll do, like you just said then, you'll do it all in one go, or you have like lines that you've picked up and that have been, you know, come to you through the day? I mean, what?
Usually, well, to be fair, I mean, it's not like I've written that many lyrics, to be honest, like, compared to, you know, most lyricists, but usually what I'll do is I'll kind of have the end of it in mind first, because especially with this EP where it's not verse, chorus, it's just one verse, just building up, I go straight to the end, and I try and work out what's going to be the big thing at the end, like what am I really trying to say that's going to come out in the end, and because that's always the most fun bit to write, because that's got the most passion in it usually. So it can be quite strange doing it that way, but I start with the end, work out like the last kind of 8 bars, maybe 16 bars, and then once I've got that, I'll be like, right, that's kind of the climax, that's the point of the song almost. Let's go and see how we get there. So go back to the start, work out what the first line going to be, and then sort of fill in the gaps right up to the very end, and then see what it sounds like, see if I need to make any changes in that. And if it's good, just get in the booth and lay it down, see what it sounds like.
Well, sort of add on to what you were saying earlier, your writing style is actually very similar to mine. I have so much trouble if I have the beat playing and I try to write to it. I cannot do it. So I have to have the beat going on in the back of my head while I'm doing something almost kind of like what you were saying, almost just something mundane. And 10 years ago, I did like an 18-song album on my own, and most of the lyrics I remember writing while I was at university. And I had a 4-hour math class on Sunday, and I would have my notepad in front of me, and the teacher would be at the desk writing the notes, you know, looking at students and whatever, and I would just pretending that I was writing notes basically, and I'd be looking up at her and just nodding my head and then writing down raps in the middle of, you know, my Sunday math class. And I mean, that was just how I did it too. As far as writing goes, I think you do have to kind of pull yourself away and, you know, not be distracted and kind of be in those sort of mundane places so that you can really get into having the beat going on in your head and coming up with, you know, all the emotions and the heartfelt things that you want to come out with.
Definitely. Yeah,
Just to chip in on the writing in strange places, and not to affect your credibility here, George, but should I tell them where Lost Cause was made? The beat.
The beat. Yeah, I can't even remember, but yeah, go on.
So Lost Cause. I actually made it in the Apple Store. I went in to get my laptop replaced, and I was sat there, and my production does really weird. You probably laugh at this, but when I've made something, as soon as I finish the first cut of it, it goes onto my phone, and it will get played on repeat. When I go out and walk the dog, when I'm in the gym, I will listen to it on repeat, and I will just scrutinise things that are wrong with it, and I'll write down. So I like this EP. I've probably heard the songs hundreds of times, and I'll take note of what needs to change, and then I'll go in and do the fixes and whatnot. But I was just sat there and I was playing with the Logic folder, and I just thought, shit, I'll try and put this in. I'm going to change the whole outro and basically change the whole tune, just sitting there. And I ended up sat in the Apple Store for like 3 hours, literally just sitting there, just working on that tune. Because sometimes you just get in the swing of it, and yeah, it was a bit weird, but yeah. So we've got this is the EP that was made. We're putting the credits, mate. This EP was written in the Weatherspoons and the Apple Store. Very credible.
Cool, lad. Like, yeah, it's not always like multi comes into your head, like sort of like thing. So like Dark Thoughts. I think I was walking home from the pub, and I just had like for some reason like North Yorkshire Water Torture came into my head, and I was like, that's a lyric right there. Let's make a tune about that. It's not always just sitting down in Weatherspoons trying to be like, right, let's make a tune. I like it with the kind of, sometimes it's just a bit more spontaneous and something just comes into your head. You're like, right, I've got this, and it just kind of falls together. But that's kind of rare, I guess, sometimes when you just manage to just blast stuff out and it just falls out right onto your lap. But that's a blessing. But yeah, so it's not always the regimented, sat at the desk, like bleeding it onto the page aspect for me. But it just usually is.
So when you do the beats and the background music, I mean, do you think what instrument would you start originally on? Would that be a piano, or would you actually start with your the actual samples? I mean, or don't you have any kind of regimented style?
I do have quite a regimented style. Not that I regiment it myself, but it just happens naturally. I mean, it all starts with the sample, because that's always just the basis, and it kind of depends how flexible the sample is. So say with the ones that we, like me and you have been doing for this EP, they're very flexible samples, because I mean it's all mostly taken from just drone like post rock. So it's just like it'd be like one note almost with a few different things going on in the back. So I take that just little sample, chop it up if I need to, rearrange it, or just loop it. And then kind of, I'll probably bash about on the drums, see what's going on, rhythm-wise, and then just get to business, seeing what can we put on this. Like, get firstly the harmony, usually see what bass we can put on it, and then kind of first port of call is pianos, seeing what melodies we can come up with once I've got that, and then anything else, like if I need to put guitars on it, synths, strings, kind of build it up, have a little look around, see what we can do, get a kind of idea for a verse, and see if we can take that anywhere else, or maybe get a chorus out of it. And then I'll put some pretty basic drums on it, and then I'll wing it over to our boy Ewan, and he'll chop it up, send it back to me, and it'll sound nothing like what I sent him, and it'll sound great. And he'll put all this stuff on it. But I'll let you talk about his approach to it when he gets it from me.
Yeah, we've got quite a weird. I mean, if you think about like all the Ceiling Demons stuff, like that whole album was made of me and George in 2 different places. Like have we ever actually sat down in a room together and like made a song from scratch? I think that the only time we've been in the studio together is we've been editing something that's been kind of made separately. But that's our process, isn't it? It's a bit weird, but yeah. So George normally puts the sample down with the lyrics and like some really raw like MPC drums, and then I'll hear it kind of like flip out because its sample choice is ridiculous, and then I'll be like, oh shit, like I really like this, but I would change this. And I think that probably the main difference is like George, you listen to a lot of like UK hip hop, don't you? Like really kind of like raw, like proper hip hop. Whereas I listen to quite a lot of like American like stuff. Like I mean, my biggest influence is people like fucking Kanye West, and I mean I listen to some it's mainly American stuff that I'm into. So kind of. I would probably say that George's stuff, I think the production does sound quite like the American mass-produced hip-hop. So I mean, like, we use like pitched 808s and like trap drums, like the kind of thing you'd hear on a Chief Keef record, with George spitting about like really kind of like deep issues. So I think it's quite different in that aspect. But yeah, I would say the production is, from my side, I'm really influenced by the American stuff, rather than the kind of the straight set UK hip-hop. But yeah, I'll normally just take the sample and the lyrics and then just put drums to it. I do everything on Logic. Quite often I use loops. So I'll normally pull like a drum like a break beat from like an old like funk track. I've used a lot of funk music recently. Like if you listen to Dark Thoughts, I might. While we move on, I'll put up Logic for and just show you what the drum track sounded like. But sometimes I'll start out with something and set out to do one thing, and I'll do something by accident and think, oh shit, that sounds really, really good. And George, I mean, like, what is the state of that drum track on Dark Thoughts? Like, can you remember like how many cuts there were in that and how like rearranged it was?
Yeah, it was incredible, epic. Like it's funny, like because I always like with most of the tunes that we've done like ever, it's always been like different when you get it back, but especially with this EP, it's just, I don't know, it's been funny and great at the same time to see what comes back, because I just send off a tune thinking like, oh yeah, this is what the tune sounds like, and it comes back and like, do you know what I mean, the guitar melodies are playing backwards, there's like all this weird tremolo mist sort of shit going on, like there's pitch kick drums going all over the place, like kind of my verses in a different place, there's other stuff going on over here. It sounds like a completely different tune, but it's still got like the essence of it, but it always sounds just cool. So it's always just, I don't know, it's always well interesting when I get that email off you with the little attachment on it, like first cut, and you're like, right, what's going to happen in this one? Like,
I'm just
it's
waiting.
Funny, but it's always so well, like something about it, because we don't really collaborate on the big issues in the song, really. I don't think, like, we never sort of talk about the bigger picture. We kind of, if we do kind of discuss things, it'd be little things like, oh, maybe we want to drop the ride out there, or like maybe we want to put a little like filter going on in here. But it always just seems to work so well. Like we're making these massive whole scale like changes, but it's always just, I've always been happy like with the way it's turned out. So it's been a pleasure so far. Like,
yeah, I'm just waiting for the day when he turns around and says, "You, what the hell have you done with this?" Like, I'm just waiting for that. But no,
it hasn't happened yet. So
it's an interesting process we've got, like, but I think it works well. I've just pulled up a track here. Let me just you guys crack on. I'll see if this is the right one. I don't think it is. I managed to wipe all of my Logic folders by accident. I'm a bit of an idiot. What song is it? Yeah, that's not it. Nah, I can't find it. But like the drums on Dark Force, they sound nothing like how they do now. I could literally like cut it in half and put it backwards and shit, as George was saying. And I think without saying I put my hands up in the air and just say I don't have a process for making stuff. Sometimes sometimes I have a plan and I make it how I picture it in my head. But sometimes I just mess about. I just press buttons and it sounds all right. I think that's as honest as I can be. I mean, sometimes I do have a plan. I have it in my head how I want to sound, and I make that sound. Sometimes I'll have a plan in my head, but I'll just piss about until something sounds good, and then I'll just right, we'll go that way instead. And sometimes it doesn't work out, and you end up scrapping it. But I mean, yeah, a lot of this EP was just messing about and taking a few attempts at it, taking a few runs at it, and just seeing what sticks.
Was that a similar style to how you recorded Dual Sides then? The same sort of thing where you would be, I know that George was in London at the time, but did you ever sort of like go back into an actual rehearsal room and record a track live, or was that?
No, we've always done stuff over the internet. I mean, so for Dual Sides, George was
it was
frozen, pal. So for Dual Sides, most of that time George was in London and I was in Newcastle.
Sorry, mate, I can't hear you.
Oh shit, what's happening?
There we
are. I was just saying, mate, how for Dual Sides, the majority of the time, like I was in Newcastle and you were in London. The only track from Dual Sides that we actually made in the studio together was Follow the Compass. That was the only song we made. We were in the studio up in at Green Man in Sweldown, and we sat down with Si and Dan and made that. I mean, I hadn't attempted it myself, but it did sound right. So me and George sat down and did it together in the session with Si and Dan. And then for your EP, you were in Richmond and I was in London, so just like we've never worked on something in the same room together, as a project.
Yeah, it's interesting. But it seems to work pretty well, and it's cool as well because you just kind of. I mean, I've never really collaborated like that before, but it just works in a very interesting way. It's a nice thing just to sort of get that basis down, send it off, and then see what comes back. And then if it's for Demons, like send it to Si and Dan, because for Dual Sides I was in London, Ewan was in Newcastle, and Si and Dan were in Leeds. So it was just like I send it to Ewan, you send it back to me. I send it to Si and Dan, they send it back to me with a demo. We all agree that it's mint. And then we go to the studio and record it. So yeah, that's always been the process, really. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there will be a time where let's get some live instruments on it, and get in the studio and write something from scratch together. But so far, it's just always worked out that way. I mean, I don't know why. It just kind of has. It's interesting.
We kind of had Si and Dan's story about the song Every Step and how that kind of came about. Let me hear your guys' side of the story about how that song kind of came about, just to get dual sides of that one.
Right, very good. Well, my side, let me just throw my mind back to that play. Yeah, yeah, that was made in London. Well, my side of it was made in London. I just found that tune. Well, I think Si might have sent me it actually. I can't remember.
Yeah, I think he said.
I think he said he sent it to you. I think he did send me it. Yeah. And yeah, I took it and just thought some of the little melodies he was doing and some of the little fluttery things he was doing were nice, and the cello was nice, and then chopped it up, put it into Logic, and it was an absolute nightmare because he's doing some difficult stuff there to turn into hip hop. He's not playing in time. He adds a bar in every now and again where you don't see it coming, or he adds an extra beat. So for about 2 or 3 hours,
you're talking about the Arthur Russell. This is how we walk on the moon.
Yeah, the Arthur.
Yeah, I just heard that. I just heard that the other day. I mean, yeah, hearing what you did with that. I mean, God, amazing job on that, because it was a good song to begin with, and I had never heard it before. I first heard, the sample, and I thought, wow, that's a really fucking great sample. And then to hear the original and be like, oh my
Thank you.
God, like I can't even imagine the work you guys had to do on that, because it was a strange sort of. He's an eclectic, very weird guy, but very cool, very cool.
Definitely incredible man. Yeah. That was kind of the classic process actually. Every step for us. Like, and to be fair, Si's given me samples before, so has Dan. It's not always my digging that gets the sample. So yeah, I got it off Si. Spent a long time working on it, and then it was kind of, I hadn't made anything like that before, because it was kind of the harmony and the way it comes out is just very positive. I mean, Lord Must Be Strong is a little bit, but it's kind of tinged with kind of that. I was kind of making it. I was just like, I've never made a song this happy. Like, it's weird. So did the standard thing, like put some pretty basic drums under it, sent it to you and put a mint break on it. We got a few synths on there and stuff, and sort of tried to take it a little bit different. So I've got just a little different kind of ideas going on, and then ended up how it is. Yeah, but I'm quite proud of that sample, because I don't think I've heard any hip hop sampling after Russell. I mean, I'm sure it's been done, but yeah, I thought it was a little bit of a good fan. I kind of felt a bit bad taking it, because the song has so much kind of artistic integrity, and it's a very artful piece of music, and I've kind of turned it into a pop song, and kind of it's probably the most accessible song on the record. So it's kind of like, I don't know if I'm bastardizing this tune a bit, but I don't know. I think I'm proud of what we came up with in the end. Yeah.
I think you should be. I mean, I totally understand what you're saying. I mean, as a producer, when you're sampling something, you kind of have to, respectfully, that's in the back of your head, is what you're sampling, and trying to keep with the integrity of said person or whatever. But no, I thought you guys handled it really well and really good. Like you were saying about it being kind of a more upbeat, more positive song, was that due to just how the sample was, or was that just kind of how you were building it? Because you said it was kind of weird for you to make a sort of happy song like that, and I said on the podcast with the Demons that it's always been extremely hard for me to come up with something extremely positive. But yeah, I guess that's my question: is was that just something that you kind of fell into, or was that something you really wanted to do?
Yeah, it just happened. I mean, it was the sort of the way, like I was saying about the way I make tunes usually, is to start with the harmony once I've got the sample, either the harmony or the drums. So I remember getting the sample and finally getting it so that I could put it on loop, once I managed to put it in time and stuff and get rid of all the extra beats and that. And then just got a little bass instrument up, started playing it. I was just like, the only harmony I can put on it is Really Happy. And so I was just like, all right, well, we'll do that then. So put that on it, and then I was just like, thought, oh, this one's a little cheeky little synth on it, so put that on it, and it just ended up being Really Happy. It just kind of happened. It wasn't really that much of a conscious decision. I was just like, well, this is the bass line I'm using, and this bass line demands happy little synths and stuff, so that's just the way it worked out, I guess. I don't know if Ewan's got any other ideas. But.
I don't know. I think back to the point of like treating the sample with integrity and not kind of ruining it. It's an interesting point. It's always in the back of your mind, especially for me when I take a sample. I always feel some kind of obligation as a producer to really change it and to really kind of chop it up to the point where it's not recognizable, so you can justify sampling it. But I'm sorry, but sometimes a sample is just so perfect in that it fits within the BPM, it fits within the groove of the record, and for this one, it really clicked with the whole kind of point of the song, I felt. I mean, because from my point of view, it's quite like reflective, like lyrics, and a lot of their stuff is quite dark and it's quite, I wouldn't say depressing, but it does kind of make you think a bit. I think for this one, it was quite an inspiring piece of music, and yeah, I mean, I just think it's such an incredible song, the original, that it wasn't worth changing it when it was so perfect to start with. So there's always going to be people saying that you ruined this sample. Like people are always going to say that, but yeah, I think it just fitted so well with the overall kind of aesthetic of the song that it wasn't worth changing it for the sake of changing. I just think it fitted too well. quite proud of that song. It is quite an uplifting piece of music.
You guys should be proud of that one. It's easily one of my favorites, and I think it is kind of that juxtaposition between the good and the bad. And yeah, I think it's just it was one of the Ceiling Demons interviews. They said somebody asked them to describe their image, and they said a positive image in dark times, and that kind of I think that kind of really resonates in the song. Every step is building me up, because it's just the beat is extremely uplifting, and the lyrics can be perceived as being depressing, or at the same time extremely uplifting. And yeah, you should be proud of it. I don't think you bastardized it at all. I don't think you did anything wrong with it, because you can just tell that it's not made to be a single. It's not out there just to generate money, just to get the name out. Like the chorus goes with the message goes with the chorus. It all fits together very, very well. It's a very good song. Be proud of that one.
Cheers.
Well, it's another. I mean, that song particularly, as has been done by the Fold, it's an example of what we're just talking about. It's from one sample from one song being used by the Ceiling Demons another way, and the Fold have taken it away and they've used it again. And it's a fascinating process to me. I mean, from someone who used to play just solely in a bass, guitarist, drums, just thrashing out 5-minute songs. The whole way that you do things is a fascinating thing, and I think you should definitely be proud of it. It's a really strong song, and I love the way that Fold have remixed it, and I'm sure that when Ryan visual is going to go with it, it's going to be an awesome piece of work.
Oh, nice one, definitely.
The way I like to think about it is, as well as the people who have heard the original, all you can do is hope that they enjoy it, and that they don't take offence to it. I think, you've stolen this, you've ruined it. I mean, give credit where credit's due. So you just hope that those people don't kind of dislike you for using it. But at the same time, if you think about it as the people listening to Ceiling Demons, they may not have ever heard that song if it wasn't for you sampling it and bringing it to their attention.
Definitely.
I mean, I studied about Kanye West. I mean, I've sat in the car with my dad and listened to Kanye West, and my dad's been like, oh, he sampled Steely Dan there, or he sampled so and so, and it's just like, I think that's the whole point of sampling, is putting a new audience onto music they might not have heard. So you can take offence to it for kind of changing it and putting your own stamp on it, but at the end of the day, it's all you can do is hope that it kind of broadens people's minds and opens them up to new music that they may not have heard. And I guess it kind of clicks with what we said earlier about sampling kind of Richard Burton and Bruce Springsteen. I think it's kind of when you can bring kind of another person's work into it and it clicks. It just, I don't know. I think it's a lot more kind of engaging for the listener.
Well, you're not Puff Daddy, you're not just stealing the straight entire loop of a song and then just adding a little bit of drum. And, you're experimenting with it. It's going, beyond what the original had, not just, take that one awesome main riff, play that stuff over and over and over again. They'll love it. It's a song that builds. I mean, I don't know. You can just really hear the emotion and the time and effort put behind it, and especially the thought as to, whether or not you were bastardizing it. I mean, I can hear that in the song, because I can tell that the sample isn't being overplayed. It's leaving me wanting more. It's making me want to find the original. It's it's going beyond just what you made, and I think as artists, that's just one of the things that we want to do subconsciously.
Well, it's one of the things I love.
It is interesting because sometimes. Oh, go on, Tim.
No, I was going to say, it's one of the things I really love about, particularly what you're doing with Dark Thoughts and the Demons as well, is that you take these kind of almost cheerful, happy kind of samples, and then you put some of the most darkest lyrics I've ever heard over the top, and they are. I mean, especially in Dark Thoughts, some of the lyrics in that are dark, man. They're dark.
Yeah, they go to some dark places sometimes, quite good. Yeah.
I think you have to, though.
Yeah.
There's so much. This is one that I always kind of rant about and people hate me for, but when you get down to the nitty gritty of it, there's so much music out there but quite a lot of people are confined to what's shoved down their throat. So for the example I use is, if you look at Sam Smith, he's got an incredible voice, but the amount you hear of him, you would think he's the only singer in the world, because all the TV channels, all the radio channels, it's all they play out, and people just kind of, they're very accepting of what's kind of thrown in their face. They don't have any kind of intuition to look for it. And when all of this music is saying the same thing, it's all shite. It's all music that's written by other people for these bands and artists, and it's all about the same kind of topics. Where I think when you're quite introspective and you talk about real life things, like Sight and Dan open up about kind of really serious, kind of pressing issues, and you just hope that people can relate to it. And it's just, for me, I'd rather listen to something with a bit of meaning and a bit of purpose rather than something that you can dance to at a nightclub. You know what I mean? But maybe that's just me. Maybe that's what I take from music. But I think that you need to kind of have some kind of purpose.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. Well, I feel anybody with a microphone or recording their voice should be trying to do something beyond just being a normal everyday person, because you are, recording your thoughts, you are on a microphone, you are speaking to people. You should theoretically have something to say.
Yeah. rather than just be there to sell records.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, like some of the, I remember when I first heard "She Dreams" and I was like, "Oh, George, you really are spitting out the truth there, son."
Oh, you mean the one, "A Morning"? Do you mean?
Yeah, man.
The piano one. Yeah. Oh man, that was hellish. That was absolutely dark. It was Sai wrote the line that I sing at the end, that's okay bit. He wrote that, and he wrote the chord progression, and so yeah, I kind of accidentally ended up stealing it, because I was going to make it for Ceiling Demons, and I recorded it just on my piano, just playing it along, like in my living room. Got my mics down in the living room and recorded it, and then I was kind of just like, I had the mic was set up there, and I was like, I think I just heard Better in Tune with the Infinite by J Electronica, and there's no drums on it. I thought, yeah, let's have a tune with no drums on it, because I've always liked the idea of rap with no drums under it, and I've done it in some of my verses before then. A lot of the stuff we recorded, Ceiling Demon stuff, it's not actually out yet, but it's quite old. I've stripped the drums away for bits of my verses, because I like it sometimes just absolutely like going for it with no drums, because you can often hear a bit more flow to it and a bit more aggression. So I had the piano for that tune, "A Morning," and just out of intrigue, I just hit record and just started freestyling on it. And I was like, oh shit, I can put some heavy stuff on this. And I couldn't really resist. So recorded it, looped it, listened to it a few times, went down to Wetherspoons, and then just really got down to it, and it just sort of spilled out. And it was one of those kind of fortunate moments you get when you those great creative times when it just comes out, and it's heavy and it's dark and it's taxing, but it just kind of works. And I was kind of experimenting with some different flows and really kind of trying to be honest with myself, and kind of trying to be ugly as well, which is a thing that I think is quite important. Not trying actively to be ugly, but not shying away from things that are ugly. And so that's something that Sai and Dan really inspired me with, is that they talk about all these dark and heavy things, which a lot of people have done before, but it's always been kind of a trap, you know what I mean? Like, you get a lot of the kind of depressive lyricists, but it's still cool and it's still attractive. I think I kind of thought, let's strip away some of that. So say if you listen to Mirror's Image, there's nothing attractive about that, it's just pure darkness. So I thought, with that "A Morning" tune, let's try and do a similar thing and not kind of legitimize anything in my lyrics through any dishonest means. Let's just be honest. Let's really say some things that you perhaps wouldn't normally admit in a tune, kind of self-deprecating sort of stuff. So I really kind of went for it. I think I'm most proud, they're the lyrics I'm most proud of, I think, the "A Morning" tune. I mean, we're kind of discussing, me and Ewan at the moment, whether or not to put it on the EP because it's a bit different. I mean, I do like it, but I kind of, half the time I think I'm impressed with it. I'm like, yeah, I'm really proud of this. The other time, like, this is just emotionally self-indulgent rubbish. So it's a tune I'm still trying to work out, really, that one. But it's definitely, at least I can say it's honest about how I felt at the time. Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's self-indulgent at all, and I would definitely put it on there because I think you'll regret it if you don't. One of the things I said to the Demons was when I first started writing, you know, some of the songs I tried to do were, you know, this was 10 years ago, but, you know, I tried writing songs that were on the level of the Ceiling Demons, but as I was writing it, I just found that there was too much ego inside of it. There was too much of myself, and I almost wasn't being honest, and it didn't seem, you know, that down to earth, that kind of stripped away. And then, you know, 2 years ago when or a year and a half ago when I first heard about you guys and heard the Lord I Must Be Strong Now, man, I mean, it was everything that I had wanted to do 10 years ago, and you know, you guys just hit the nail right on the head. And every time I hear a Demon song, it's like, you know, you just keep hitting that nail right on the head as far as, you know, just a very stripped away, very sort of egoless, and I would say least of all self-indulgent, because I see it as very selfless. I see it as almost, you know, encapsulating me, as well as I'm sure, you know, other people who feel like me, and I don't feel like somebody's talking to me. I almost feel like somebody's talking with me, if that makes any sense. And you know, all I can say is go with it, and I think it's a great song. I think the whole you know, all of it that Tim sent me all of it's great, and it's very next level, and I don't think you should ever be afraid to experiment, to go out, to do something different, to be called weird or different, because the more things that I do that I find people tell me are weird, I really feel like they're telling me like it's actually really, really cool, because I know the weirder it's going to get, the more original it's going to get, the deeper I'm going to go to make it more creative. And I know there's a lot more people like me that just have that kind of creative process, and I can definitely hear that in all the aspects of your stuff, the Ceiling Demon stuff, the instrumentals, the lyrics, I mean, all of it. I can just hear it in there, and I think you definitely should, you know, do something with that track. I wouldn't throw it away or hold it back for any reason, because it's great, and you don't hold back, and that's probably the best part of it.
No, thank you. Very kind indeed.
I mean, I personally said to George, I mean, I've said this to you boys when I first met, you know, I first saw you in a gig and stuff, but particularly with you, George, and I have to say this to you, you know, man to man, is that your way, your vocal style, is kind of, I'll say this, first time I ever heard anything, The Lord I Must Be Strong Now, I actually thought that you were all black guys. That's because you've got that whole, your vocal style is kind of, it's not trying to be New Yorkie, it's not trying to be LA, it's not trying to be Cockney London, all right chaps. It's just unbelievable that you've got this. I think you speak from your soul, and it's definitely coming across in tracks that you've been doing on Dark Thoughts. I mean, for instance, it hits me in a deep level every time I hear God Won or Lost Cause. Some of the, you know, it just hits me there, and that's why I'll definitely agree with what Ryan was saying. I think you should definitely keep it going, and because I think one of the things that you're always pushing it. I'll say this on the podcast before, that it's like every time I hear one of your tunes, it's like, oh God, there's another benchmark I've got to reach. There's another one, you know, and it's something you should be really proud of.
Thank you. It's funny. Thanks very much. Very kind words. It's funny. Our mate Chris Curry said. He said to me one time. He was like, "Oh, you're the only rapper I've ever heard that sounds like he's crying while he raps." So yeah, I guess, like, it's just quite embarrassing, terrible. But I guess it gets across the point that, like, I'm trying to, you know, show off some emotions while I do it, at least. Yeah.
I did not get the impression that you were crying.
Nah, mate, you sound like this is Lost Cause. Like you're getting knocked man out, mate. You sound like a roadman. Man's on the road there, like. But no, I think he's got a point, and the one thing is that it's authentic. You can't say that it's not authentic. And I think in terms of like kind of the USP of your music, like it's authentic. I mean, it's not trying to be something that it's not. You're not talking about popping Glocks and fucking having a stable full of bitches. It's like it's genuine, authentic music, and it's quite. People can relate to it, and that's why. It's authentic.
I mean, the other thing, George, as well, is it amazes me is how quickly you can rap. The speed you fly some of them lyrics out is immense. Is that something that you've just comes naturally to you, or is that something you practice on to get yourself up to a very quick level of spitting lyrics out?
It's something I've always tried to do. I mean, I'm conscious of not trying too hard to just do the fastest stuff I can do, because, I mean, if you do that, you just end up like Eminem making, you know, fast raps that are shit, like Rap God style. But I think what gravitates me towards trying to get a little bit quick every now and again. I'm not saying that I am a fast rapper or anything like that, because I've not exactly got like a chopper style or anything like that. But I've always gravitated towards trying to do stuff that's a bit fast, because I think it can be very expressive, especially when you really get into like the loudest that you could go. It just sounds. It's kind of been my goal with the EP to just sound like you're really just going for it. So if you've got something that's a little bit, got a bit of pace, then, and you can wrap your tongue around it, you can sort of get your point across that you're just pissed off, basically. So, yeah, I mean, some of the more fast stuff I've done, actually, Lost Causes, the sort of faster bits in there, I was kind of trying to incorporate a few more sort of new flows. There's sort of a lot of that triplet stuff going on, like that Still as Ill as Before sort of stuff, where it's just about 6 or 7 syllables that rhyme, like just sort of flinging them off the top of the tongue. I wrote that in the basement of a pharmacy, having to clean a basement basically. I had about 2 or 3 hours to kill, so I was like, let's write a verse in my head while I do it. So I sort of tried to see how far I could keep going with like as few breaths as possible, and still have a meaning to it. I mean, there's no point writing something that's just fast, because then you've got nothing. So, but I've always just thought if you might be able to express a bit more emotion by having things come out fast, because all the emotions that I'm trying to express, they occur in your mind very quickly. It's a lot of stuff in your head that you're thinking when you're in a dark place that you just want to get out. So it's kind of trying to emulate what goes on in your head when you're in a dark place, how it is fast and aggressive, and it's happening quickly, and it just wants to get out. So it's kind of, I'm trying to like sort of represent that in my lyrics, like that feeling of just kind of a catharsis of emotion, I guess, which sounds ridiculously over the top, but that's just the way it is.
Well, there's Penn Jillette from Penn and Teller, the group of magicians. He had a podcast, and he was talking about comedians and the way a comedian talks on stage, and he was comparing them to jazz musicians, and really got me thinking about rappers and how rappers are the same way. When you're rapping, it's, you can be that one guy that just raps like this at this beats per minute and keeps doing this, and you can do that. Anybody can do that. But then, to switch it up, and I had said this before about the Ceiling Demons, is the rhyme schemes and the structures are so, I don't want to say radical, but you do what needs to get done, and you don't really, feel that need to just stick between the lines, which is very, bebop jazz type music, where, you start rapping, and like you said, you'll go into a triplet, and you'll start rapping in triplets, but people don't see that. They just see it as, oh, he's rapping this, or, he might be rapping fast, but then if you actually go into, the real diagram of how you're rapping and how you're writing the words down, it does get into this very sort of free-form jazz, just explosion of style and formality. And yeah, you guys, you do it well. You do it well.
Yeah, thank you. I have tried to experiment quite a bit with this EP, because just the idea of just changing stuff up, like, and just going into different rhythms to complement different lyrics or different things you're trying to say. I think it just makes it a lot more interesting. And interestingly, like you said about jazz, I mean, one of my biggest influences lyrically, or at least in terms of just rap delivery, probably Rakim, and just the way he was like sort of revolutionary in kind of, the late 80s, early 90s. No one was on his sort of level in terms of, not just in terms of like speed or anything like that, because he was quite fast for his time, but also that free flowing thing. And I've seen interviews with him where he says the exact same thing, that he was influenced heavily by jazz and listening to jazz solos and trying to incorporate some of the ideas and rhythms that you would get from listening to, like a improvised jazz solo, just sort of going for it and it being expressive and experimental. So I have sort of tried to emulate that kind of style, even though mine's a bit more forced than that, you know what I mean? Because it's not improvised, but at least when I'm writing it, I'm kind of trying to take it to different places and slowing it down, speeding it up, get some different rhythms going on, and I've tried to sort of make it interesting. Hopefully that will come across in the music, I don't know, but we'll see.
It does. It does, you know it.
No, I don't know. I mean, I kind of am worried that some of it sounds a bit straight, but
no, it does. I can't. As far like I've listened to the dual sides, I have the EP. I listened to the stuff that Tim sent me, and I mean, I have little to no complaints about any of it, and that's usually not me. I'm usually somebody that's kind of like, maybe this could have been like, maybe this drum could have been a little bit higher. I don't like that snare. I'm a very picky person, especially about the stuff I do, and that kind of goes over into what I listen to. But when I hear the Demon stuff, really just no problems, no quarrels whatsoever, because it just seems so free flowing, and you don't have to, it just feels like you're not conforming yourself to stay within those lines of making everything sound perfect and everything sound right. And I'm not saying it doesn't sound perfect or it doesn't sound right, but it's the big things for me in music are the imperfections, and to me those are what makes things perfect, are the soul and capturing the moments, and not doing something that can be done a million times over again, but actually being able to capture it one time and saying, you know what, I wouldn't have been able to do that again, and really can hear that. And yeah, I wouldn't change anything.
Thanks very much.
Well, I think one of the biggest compliments about the Demons, particularly, and sort of like what you're doing now, George, and stuff, is the openness you have to collaboration. Do you know what I mean? Whether it's bringing in Will as a double bass player, having other musicians involved, having Ewan involved, even having myself involved, and doing, you took a big step coming to someone like me and saying, well, we could just put an image out of a computer, but you took a big step and said, come out to someone who does what kind of stuff I do. And I think it's a really big compliment to you as a band and as a set of lads, but you're open to everything. And I think that's what shows in the tunes you're doing. That's why they are so powerful, because you are opening yourself up and you're saying to the world, this is what we do, and we're open to it. We're not egotistical at all. We're not selfish about it all, and it really shows. And I've said this before. I think you are the vanguard of a new wave of music coming through, and I think you should be immensely proud of what you do. And I can never say it really too many times. I really can't.
Well, I don't know, Tim. I can kind of see the Ceiling Demons on like No Limit Records, on top of the gold tank, surrounded by diamonds, surrounded holding goblets, and some pit bulls, and some chicks in bikinis.
Well, that is the other option. They make one big album and then sell out completely and become
Yeah, the next mask I want to see better have like pearls and rubies and something on it.
Yeah, of course. No, yeah, it's been great. No, definitely the collaborative side of it. I've never really been part of anything like it in terms of that kind of thing. And it's been great having like you on board, Tim, and like obviously you and especially, I mean, well, like we've been working on all the music together, and then we've had like, you know, other people doing art for us as well and filming the videos, and everyone just kind of putting their own little take on it. And we've got other people making masks for us, you know, and then there's like just little bits and pieces here and there, and it's really cool just kind of being part of a little sort of, not like it is a formal collective, but just something where you're really just experiencing all these different ideas going on, and like people throwing different stuff at you, and all based around the same kind of core idea. And have it. It's great to have like about, you know, 6 or 7 people that all seem to have such a similar perspective, even though what they come up with is so different. The core like understanding of the image we're trying to put across seems to be so cohesive, and it's just been great. I mean, from the first mask, like demon mask, we took the photo of, all the boys took the photo of in the alley. Do you know what I mean? It was just like by Lewis, it was just some graffiti that he'd been doing, like based on that artwork comic that he'd done, and that's turned into, do you know what I mean? Obviously, Tim, you've done a lot with that mask idea, and then like we've got the masks in the videos, and you know the imagery is kind of permeated across all kind of different creative spheres, and it's incredible just to see all different types of artists doing all different types of things around it. It's absolutely mad, and it just seems so strange that to just see all these people taking these ideas from this music that just comes from, you know, just like a couple of lads just making like a tune, you know, stealing a bit of music and putting a drum loop under it, and now it's all this. Like it's been an incredible journey.
Well, as I mentioned before, I think what I can definitely say from my angle is that it's always a benchmark. Every time I hear another one of your tunes, or I hear that, you know, it's like, oh, okay, that's a new high, and I've got to raise that, and and that's what I think. I think that's what's the great thing about what you're doing with your singing, you know, the Dark Thoughts and Jess and your side project, or whether it's for the Demons. It's all just always getting better. I haven't, you know, in the 2 years I've known you, nothing's ever gone down. There's never been a weak tune or a weak figure or a weak anything. It's always getting better and better and better, and that's what excites me. I think it's a great thing. I mean, I feel, Ryan's mentioned this before, I feel privileged that not only am I involved in it in a tiny little way, but I'm going to be able to see you boys grow. I'm going to be there from the beginning, and in 20 years' time, when you're there in 20 years' time, I've done the whole journey with you. And rather than just, as Ryan said before, just picking up a band from the 90s and going, oh, I've got to go to their back catalogue. I think it's one of the great honours and pleasures I've found with you boys. It's, you know, it's a great thing. We're only at the start of things, and then what we're going to be in 5 or 6 years' time with all our projects, it's going to be immense.
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting journey. No, it's been great, mutual feelings, Tim. Like, honestly, like with everyone that I've worked with as part of this project, it's been just great. I mean, like exactly like you were saying. Like whenever I send something to you and it sends it back, and it's just like, whoa, like it's still cool. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's got better. And like, you know, and then like I'll send it to you. You send it back to Mark, you'd be like, oh man, like it's better than the last one. And like stand down, come in and spit some absolute fire or whatever, and then every video we put out, I'm always thinking, yeah, this is just way better, and it just seems to be just a constant kind of progression that it's just been a cool journey so far, and I'm looking forward to the rest of it. It's been great, like definitely.
Well, that's why the benchmark has been set for Ryan. It's got a high benchmark, Ryan, for this video.
I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
I mean, I don't know if you're aware. I know, George, you're in the other side of the world, but every step is being done for Calm, and I think that's a really great thing as well. I mean, I don't know what you're aware about, which we should talk about that, but
yeah. Tim, I can't hear you, buddy.
Oh, sorry. I was just saying the every step video is being done with Calm, and I think that's something that I know you've got a lot of interest about, you know, and you knew a lot.
Yeah, definitely. Like, well, it's always ever since, you know, the first tune, 21st birthday blessings. You know, that was in honor of our friend. We've always kind of, it's mainly kind of Cy and Dansfield, really. They're the kind of they're the ones pushing it a little bit more than me in terms of the whole, you know, mental health sort of thing. But it's always been, you know, kind of at the forefront of the music is kind of personal mental health. So it's great to kind of do something in conjunction with a charity that supports that. So I mean, like the album was, you know, directly dealing with some of the issues that's going on with Calm and that. So, and it's good to release a tune like Every Step, where it's trying to be positive and, you know, moving forward and getting better from a spiritual perspective, and being able to bring that calm thing in there. So I'm dead behind it, me. I think it's great. Just sort of trying to build a bit of awareness and kind of, you know, bring it to the forefront. Not like we have that much influence, but do you know what I mean? If we can be of any help at all to, you know, somebody who, like, you know, needs a bit of help, then that's an absolute blessing. Like, that'd be amazing. So yeah, it's cool.
I mean, just as a general sort of perception, do you feel that since you've been in China, that whole subject area of male depression is any different in your part of the world, or is it just the same over as it is here?
It's a lot, from the little that I know. I can't profess to have a great understanding of that issue over here in Chinese culture, but I know it's quite heavily pushed under the rug, seemingly anyway. So I've not been able to get too much of an insight on it. I know kind of people are starting to get a bit more clued up on it in the UK now, seemingly. You know, there's statistics out there that are mind-boggling about kind of diagnosis rates and suicide rates and stuff, but at least now it seems like people are kind of starting to wake up to it. I can't really speak too much about Beijing because I don't particularly know, well, China, I don't really know what the score is here, I'm afraid, but yeah, I'm just glad that it's starting to get a little bit more publicity in the UK. Do you know what I mean?
So you haven't come across the gutter oil then, George?
Gutter oil? I have it every day. Well, I know, I've tried to cut it down, like, it starts to warp your stomach a bit after a while. Like, pretty heavy. But,
And how have sort of like people you've heard, you know, play dual sides or demons or what in China? How are they taking it?
well, it's funny actually. I've showed like my classes, not all of them. I've showed some of my classes like some tunes because they've asked us about it. Bit of a yeah. I ended up showing a bunch of 13-year-olds a MAIDSAFE video, which I felt a little bit sketchy about afterwards actually. It was basically just Nas walking around fucked up like this tree for just about 4 minutes. But yeah, I've had quite a lot of kids, quite a few Chinese kids saying that they're going to download it and stuff like this, and I've not shown too many of the English people here the tunes because I don't really want to just be like, oh, hi, I'm a rap producer, whatever, listen to my music, but I've got some like a bit of positive feedback in that, like people say it's cool. But I'm going to try and get involved in the scene because there is a hip-hop scene here. Not just the Chinese, but also there's a lot of expats out here. Maybe there's something I can get involved with. But I want to, I need to start discovering what's going on because I reckon there'll be opportunities out here. And people are very much into the idea of collaboration over here as well and getting involved, making contacts and stuff. And I know that there is, you know, a very live sort of network that I need to get a part of. So I'm going to try and get myself in and see what kind of mad stuff I can get myself into. I want to get sampling some Chinese music as well because that's going to be cool as anything really. I bought this little fella actually. It's called a halusi. It's like a kind of bamboo and gourd kind of weird thing. So I'm going to maybe get on sampling that a bit and maybe see if I can come up with something. Nah, mate, I'm still learning it. It's in B flat, so get Logic open and start getting ready for beats in B flat, yeah?
Smoke on the wall, mate. No 7 Nation Army.
Nah, I'm gonna try and get some some more Eastern influences, like MAIDSAFE style, like get some Chinese stuff going on. See where it takes me.
Decent. Hey guys, I'm gonna have to call it a day. I need to head into uni. But it was good chatting to you all. And George, I'll give you a shout later on this week, mate. We need to sort out these files. Just ping the message on Facebook, and we'll take it from there. But now, good chatting to you guys, and I'll speak to you guys all soon.
I'll speak to you soon, you man.
Okay,
Nice meeting you.
See you later on, guys. Yeah, nice meeting you too, mate. Bye.
yeah, take care, pal. Bye bye.
So George, I mean,
Cool.
just in general, I mean, do they show a lot of Western music on the like MTV, or is that all quite censored over there? I mean, it's hard to know perspective sitting on Scotland what Chinese culture's like.
Yeah. Well, I don't really watch any Chinese TV because my telly doesn't work. So I don't. I know the kids sort of know what's going on. I mean, I teach quite young kids. I only teach up to about 14 years old. So, I mean, even 14-year-olds in England, a lot of them don't really know what's happening music-wise or culture-wise, So, kids mainly, if they listen to music, they listen to Taylor Swift and Adele and Beyonce and stuff. And if they like films, they like Transformers and they like Harry Potter, and that's pretty much it. But there is a hip-hop scene, and I've been reading up on it. Of Chinese rappers, and I know that they've got some pretty raw stuff going on. Like they're talking about the classic hip hop stuff, what it's like growing up, Skin, or they've just they've appropriated a lot of the classic hip hop themes, being like a gangster or whatever, that kind of. So from what I can tell, it's a bit derivative. But there is a scene, and in terms of censorship, I'm not sure really. I think it's quite opposite. So at least they know a little bit of hip hop. And I've got a couple of kids in because I do a history of hip hop elective, which I've told you about, Tim, which is just a series of lectures basically that I'm teaching on a Friday night, I'm just going into the history of hip-hop and looking at integrity and authenticity in hip-hop. And I've got a couple of kids who know what's going on, like most of them kind of, do you know what I mean? They know about like Dr. Dre and 50 Cent and that. And I've got a couple of kids who are a bit cooler. They know about NWA and a bit of gangster rap and that, and Tupac and stuff. So I'm just kind of trying to sort of show them some stuff that I think is cool, like some proper stuff that's a bit forgotten about these days, like some sort of underground 80s stuff, like MC Shan or Roxanne Shante, Marley Marl, stuff that they probably wouldn't have a chance to hear otherwise because you just wouldn't hear about it out here. So I've been trying to get them into some cool stuff, but it's kind of hard. It's kind of hard teaching them about old hip-hop and explaining to them, like, this is good objectively, do you know what I mean? Because they all just want to hear like the big massive tunes like Love the Way You Lie and stuff like that, and I'm just like, nah, listen, like this is good, like showing them like, do you know what I mean, Eric B and Rakim or whatever and stuff like that. So yeah, slowly but surely I'm re-educating the Chinese populace in music, so don't worry, I've got China covered.
And so, I mean, it's going to be interesting. That's one of the things that I think will have changed the Chinese a lot, and change the world a lot, will be when these new forms of communication, like what we're doing with N99, are going to hit, because the censorship, once that goes, it's going to be amazing. I think an amazing world when we watch people connect without any kind of censorship, and it's going to be fascinating, especially the Chinese people. I mean, there's over 1 billion people in China. Am I right in that?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah,
That's
a lot of them. Like,
that's a lot of creativity waiting to aim to explode, isn't it?
Definitely. I mean, yeah, I think there is a lot of stuff going on. I mean, and there's some good artists out here, not just music-wise, like Ai Weiwei and stuff, and it's interesting because you know, obviously there's a lot of censorship. You can't get on Facebook, you know, Google, whatever. But I mean, they're working out how to do it. A lot of people have got the means to bypass these censorships and stuff like that. So I mean, I know that there's kids in this school who've got Facebook and that. So people are starting to educate themselves. I think the kids, and especially when I speak to certain teachers that have taught older kids, they're a bit more aware of what's going on. Like they know when they're being lied to. And that, so I think it's getting a bit more progressive out here. Like, we're starting to get the idea, but we're getting some interesting stuff coming out of China pretty soon. I think it's interesting to watch it happen.
And the other one I was going to say to you, George, what was behind the name Jess? Where did that stem from?
Jess, well, my full name is Jesse George Wuston. I adopted the name Jesse when I was 16, in a kind of classic teenage me kind of thing to do, because I just thought it was a cool name. And then at university, everyone called me Jess, like shortened it to from Jesse to Jess. So I kind of just thought it was quite a cool name. I don't know. To be fair, I might end up changing it. I don't know, but I might end up just putting out as George Rustin. I don't know. But yeah, just people called me at a university. I quite like the name, and I mean, it might be confusing if I put it out, because people might think they're buying a girls' record, but they'll quickly find out that they're not, I guess. So yeah, there's not too much of a story behind it. It's just, it was a bit of a name for a time, and I thought I'd resurrect it, because a lot of the stuff actually that I'm talking about in the EP is kind of sort of hangover feelings from the end of university. I was sort of especially when I made the tunes in London, it was just 6 months after I'd just gotten out of university, when I was making Dual Sides, and I was kind of expressing what had happened at university, in my personal life, certain things that had happened, certain things that were going on, but I'd never really explored it lyrically, because it was kind of, university was creatively a dead period for me. I did nothing. I mean, I made a couple of tunes and I was sort of getting my feelers out, working out how I was going to make hip-hop, but in terms of actually making complete stuff and putting it out, I didn't really do anything. It was just kind of a learning period, in kind of a dead zone where I didn't express myself so much. So when it came to making the EP and I was writing the lyrics, a lot of the stuff, not all of it, but a lot of it is kind of revisiting that period of my life when it was kind of a bit dark at times, a couple of just feelings that were going on around university, and then when I was living in London, where also people were calling me Jess. So kind of using the name Jess, it's because where I was at that time, that was the name I had. So it's kind of like, not an alter ego, but just a part of me that was kind of from a certain place in time, if you get what I'm saying. So yeah, it's kind of revisiting that time when I was called that, and what was going on in my life at that time, yeah. So I guess that's what it is, really.
So I mean, the other thing I have to put out there is another big thank you, really, to you particularly and the Boys and the Demons, because we wouldn't be doing this very hangout now if it hadn't been for you boys, because it was you boys that introduced me to Ryan through the bad ideas, and here we are now, and then, you know.
Here we are.
No, it's great, isn't it? It's great. I mean, there's been all sorts of things like that. I mean, we wouldn't be here otherwise. I mean, like you Tim, you've helped us a lot more than just with the artwork, but just the enthusiasm, and so has Ewan as well. I mean, I remember when we were sort of getting our first EP together, the Ceiling Demons EP. We made the tunes, and then it was my fault really, but it was kind of festering in the background. We weren't really getting the tunes finished. I was taking too long to mix them and stuff, and wasn't really happening. But then we showed them to Ewan, and he was like, came back just so positive. He was like, "This is incredible! Like, this is sick!" And that really just gave us the enthusiasm to be like, "Whoa! Like, this guy, like, he thinks it's class. So let's get back on it. Let's get working on it." It really gave us some impetus. And then again, like, probably, I don't know, a year later or whatever, where we'd done, like, I think we must have done most of the tunes for the album. Yeah, we had done the album. It was a bit after that, and again, it was probably a little bit my fault. Like, the tunes were just sort of getting a bit stagnant, and they weren't getting mixed, and all this. We were kind of like, when we got to get this album out, and that's when you started sending us like some great stuff, and like we were just like, whoa, this art's so good, and your enthusiasm was incredible. You were just, you know, giving us all this like mad props, saying like, oh, this stuff's like I love these tunes and that, and like it's inspiring me to make art or whatever. So it's always been at times like kind of being signed down, or any of us sort of get a bit kind of bored with it, like the enthusiasm from, like you say, like yourself or Ewan or anyone really comes along and just says, well, I'm really feeling it, do you know what I mean? It's always like kept us going and that, and then so that's how we kind of ended up where we are now. I mean, maybe we would have given up by now if it wasn't for, like, you know, other creative people saying, yeah, this is like, we really behind it and stuff. So definitely, it's been great.
Well, it's been what I was saying to Ryan yesterday in an email, that one of the things that's been my pleasure, particularly my own pleasure, is watching you, particularly George, go from this shy little guy at the back in the shadows to the last gig I saw you out there spitting the lyrics, owning the show, my man, owning the stage.
Nice one. Well, it was my last gig in England, wasn't it? Well, so it was kind of my last like proper big gig in England. So I was like, I'm gonna have it. You know what I mean, like, let's have a go. So yeah, I have sort of come out my shell a little bit. I've been happy to sit in the background before, but then kind of like, you know, I've been writing these lyrics, and I thought, yeah, let's get out there and sort of see how they go down in the live scenario, see if I can pull it off, because I mean, a lot of it, I mean, obviously I only really recorded it before, I've never really performed my lyrics that much in terms of rap lyrics anyway, so I was like, yeah, let's get out there, see if I can pull it off on stage and see if I can spit some of them flows, you know, and can't beat and that, and Sai and Dan are pushing me all over the stage, and there's a guy with a sword, do you know what I mean, like, and all this stuff. Yeah. So yeah, it's one of the things I miss the most actually about being in China is gigging. Like, I had some great gigs with Sai down. I had a great time, really good time.
I mean, will you plan to go out and do anything this? You know, like when you release Dark Thoughts, will that be something that you'll go out and when you come back to England, or will it be something you'll go out and try to do gigs by yourself with that, or is it just solely for a, you know, that's it? I'm just gonna musically put it out and that's it.
I think something interesting about the idea of just going out and just being like, bang. Kind of why I want to get it out like soon, really. It's kind of annoys me that I've not put it out yet. It's because I find that you just want to press it, you don't want it to just sit there by itself and just get stagnant. You want to get it out there. But I think I will do some gigs when I come back. But I think maybe just keep it to like. Say maybe if Ceiling Demons are playing a gig, maybe I'll come and do a few songs before or during. Say like that gig, the last one you saw was at Tim Richmond Live. I think it was kind of nice to bring in some new dynamics, like sort of like sign down, step back. I come to the front for a bit, do one of my tunes, and then we step back, or I step back and they come back into it. So it's a nice another little facet that we can play off. Do you know what I mean? Just like it kind of. It's good when we have so amputated spirit for give a bit of flavour, like different, another little bit and the step switch in there. Which is why it was also good to have Matt Robinson there as well at that gig we did For the Love. That was great to have so another sort of thing going on. We had Tate there with his scythe pretending to be death, you know, and then we had a track called The Quiet where me and Dan went off and just left Sight to just do his thing by himself. Like these more poetic sort of lyrics going on. So maybe if I come back and I've released the EP, maybe we can do some gigs together and I just, you know, come out, do a track, do a couple of tracks, step back into it and just kind of make it more interesting, because what we've always tried to do with the band is, we're doing it live, is you're playing the beats off an MPC or whatever. We did do it, we didn't want to just do it the way that like a lot of hip-hop artists do it, where you just got 10 records and two rappers at the front going. We thought, let's get a bit more, have a bit more going on, so that we tie that to a live band, because we haven't got, you know, live drums and, you know, all sorts of different instruments going on. We thought, what can we do? Like, and one of the things we tried to do is make it more of a kind of performance in terms of kind of theatrical kind of way. if you take a group of lads trying out tunes on the guitar, which I respect and I like, you know, all my favourite, but we tried to take it a little kind of theatrical performance, which is why we had like Tate dressed up as Death with his scythe and that, and why, you know, we've got, you know, people stepping in and out of the limelight and kind of trying to switch it up, and why they come on with the masks and take them off, and it's kind of like an unclothing almost, a literal unmasking, and try to work on that just to make it a little bit more different, because that also ties in so well with the kind of vibe we're trying to put across with the artwork in that, you know, trying to take it and make it more of a thing than just, you know, the four guys in the band, trying to make it a bit more of a kind of concept, if you will. So I think that kind of concept idea that is around the Ceiling Demons lends itself very well to having a kind of theatrical side to the live gigs, I think. So yeah, it's been cool trying to work that one out. Like, it's been a really hard task actually turning the live thing into something that we're proud of, but I think we've managed to get there with some of the interesting stuff we've been doing. So yeah, live's it's great. I can't wait to get back and start gigging again, man. Like getting back on that stage and seeing what we can do. Seeing if I can still rap when I get back.
Well, what I'm really looking forward to is you seeing because you haven't really sort of seen any of the visuals that Ryan's got planned for every step. I mean, Ryan, would you want to sort of tell us more about what you're planning?
What I'm planning? Oh
yeah,
my god.
Because George hasn't really sort of been aware, has he?
Well, I'm gonna stick with the. Well, did you see the original video, George?
The fire spinning one.
Yeah. I actually know a couple girls that do that, and so I'm really gonna stick with that idea. But then I had this idea of kind of chaos going on around them, of sort of like there's gonna be like fireworks and smoke bombs, and I bought a fog machine, the strobe light, and probably gonna have some other sort of I made my own masks, which Tim's seen them. They're fairly interesting. One of them's like a Venetian mask that has like the longer nose coming off of it.
Oh yeah, I know. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, and hopefully it can just be sort of chaotic and have the whole fire dancing going, and then if I have time, hopefully I'm going to try to get some people in some sort of other costumes or masks to sort of be kind of almost like the fire dances, like summoning the demons, and the more they dance, the more they come out, and I don't know, that sort of thing. But as far as visuals go, I see it. Everything I do, I see just as crazy as Bad Ideas, or even the trailer for Bad Ideas, which I think is fairly crazy. But I just see lots of stuff going on, lots of stuff, lots of chaos, lots of symmetry and beauty and mysticism, and I'm excited for it. I think we might actually be shooting tonight. I'm supposed to find out in probably 6 hours. But yeah, hopefully we can shoot tonight or sometime soon, because I'm ready.
Awesome, yeah. Awesome. I can't wait to see it, man. Sounds good.
Well, this is the perfect example of what we're talking about. You know, we've got a person in China, Scotland, and in Ohio, Toledo, Ohio, and we're all working.
Waterville. I'm in Waterville. I'm in a small suburb. And we have a cornfield. We have a baseball field. We have a fire station. We have a Subway and a McDonald's. That's what we got.
Well, the fact, Ryan, you've got a Subway and a McDonald's is two things that Richmond hasn't got.
Definitely. Now, I'm really taking it to the logical conclusion now, like, from like having it, we thought it was bad London, Leeds, and bloody Newcastle. Now we've gone bloody intercontinental. This is next level stuff, boys.
Demons worldwide, my man. Demons worldwide.
Demons worldwide.
We're everywhere.
Is there anything else, Ryan, you want to ask George while he's here, man? Because I know you've been keen to talk to him.
Nothing. I don't know. We covered a lot today.
Well, we have, man.
Yeah, we stuff like.
I don't know. I'm out of it too. It's still early. I'm tired, but all I can say is, like Ewan said, man. If you can just go around and get footage. If you want to send me some stuff and tell me, a song to put it to, I will you know, I'm more than happy to, you know, throw it in and see what I can come up with, because that's kind of the thrill of it, is just taking it all and, you know, seeing what you can do with it. I haven't let myself down yet,
Yeah,
so
definitely.
anytime I can help, you know, please reach out. I'm ready.
Nice. Cheers, mate. Cheers. I appreciate that.
And just before I wrap up this podcast,
sorry.
I mean, just going to say to you, George, where can people find out? I mean, instead of them asking me, where can they find out? Where can they listen to? What steps do you recommend to? Twitter page? I mean, what would you recommend?
At the moment, I'm pretty much anonymous. I'm under the radar as yet. But if people did want to find out what I'm doing and what's going on, there'll be some announcements soon, and if they're following Ceiling Demons, I'm sure there'll be some shout outs on there. You can find me on Twitter at _beat_demon_ or George Whiston. Just look me up. There'll be some updates on that. I'm yet to get like my own site and that Bandcamp and that setup, because we're still, you know, while we haven't got the art concept finalized yet, I want to have that already instead of putting up some half-baked idea for the Bandcamp page or SoundCloud or whatever. So that's something we need to get on, Tim, actually, I think, sort of getting the imagery sorted. So once I've got that down, we'll get the pages up, and then we'll start getting some updates going on, start getting the promotion underway, and then start dropping some tunes, start showing some music to people.
I mean, and obviously, to George, I mean, you'll be part of the the N99 thing we're doing, and we'll get you on that, and that's a way of you earning some resources, which is never a bad thing.
Awesome.
Do you know what I mean? And like I say, any ways we can get your stuff out to the world, the better, because it's a new benchmark high, and I'm, you know, you should be immensely proud of it. I mean, I know you are, but you should always be immensely proud of it, because you're raising the bar, my man, every time.
Thank you, Tim. Very kind words. Very kind.
Right, I'm gonna.
No, I appreciate it.
Go on.
No, sorry, I've finished. Yeah, that's cool.
Is there anything else you want to wrap up, Ryan?
I'm tired, man. I was up at 8 o'clock. That's too early for me. This is like, yeah.
Well, that's what happens with me. This is the honour you've got. This is the honour we will have for getting that one. I mean, I'll get out of bed less early for George anyway.
Yeah, I think I actually woke up at like 6, and then I couldn't sleep, but I was just lying there and then staring at the clock, and then it was like 8:30, and I was like, oh god. It was late night. All the nights are late.
Well, George, I'm going to give you the final say, man. Is there anything you want to say to people in England while you're here? Because I know they'll be watching.
People in England, I miss you all. You're all great. Hopefully, I'll be seeing you soon. Anyone who doesn't know me, hit up Ceiling Demons, get on that Bandcamp page, get on Spotify and buy my music, because I'm a bit skint. If you've been watching, thank you very much. Keep your eyes open for it's going to be a bit different, something a bit interesting. I'd like to say to you, Tim and Ryan, thank you very much for having me on, and thanks for all the compliments you've been giving me. Honestly, very blessed to have such kind words said about what I'm trying to do, and yeah, thank you very much.
No, George, it's been an honour, my man, and any time you want to come back on, and obviously when you've got your stuff recorded and it's going out, definitely come back on. We'll do everything. I'll do everything I can, and I'm sure Rob will just to promote what you're doing, because it's good stuff, man. And I you know, this is genuinely from their heart that it's you, the boys and the demons, and what you know, you're the vanguard of the new generation, and it's a small pleasure for me just to do anything I can to be a part of this.
Oh, thanks, mate. And anything I can do for either of you two as well, honestly. Like, I know, Ryan, we only just sort of met in that, but anything that, if you want me to help you out with the music and anything, and Tim, if there's anything I can do for you, I mean, you've helped us out so much with everything you've done for us art-wise and that. So if there's anything you two boys want me to do, like, I'd be more than happy to help you out.
Mate, the only thing I've always said to every guest I ever talk to, the only thing I want from any of you lot is don't be putting a gun to your head, man, doing the rock and roll thing. That's all I ask for. Just be around when I'm 60, man. That's all I
yeah. I got a couple of EPs yet left in me yet, so don't worry about me.
That's all I ask for, man. Just keep producing.
Yeah, man, I got work to do.
Right, so this is thank you very much to everyone that's listened to Life is People. It's been an extended one, but it's been a really good discussion. And well, from myself in Scotland, goodbye, Life is People. Ryan.
Ohio, Life is People.
Life is People, my man.
Beijing, China.